Taking a look at Bitcoin's upcoming halving. Everyone is talking about Bitcoin's upcoming halving in May of 2020. It's set to start on May 14th of 2020, the big Bitcoin halving that everyone is talking about that took Bitcoin's price, as you can see in the past, from the last halving all the way from around 621 US dollars to the all-time high of 20,000 US dollars. We're going to be taking a look at some key fundamental indicators that not a lot of people are talking about, including this Google Trends chart showing that in May of 2016, prior to the rally that we saw in 2017, we saw search trends on Google show all these all-time highs for Bitcoin halving, and right now you can see we are seeing this once again here prior to the May upcoming halving. And we're also going to be looking at Bitcoin's Google Trends chart to show you guys that, as you can see here, in 2017 when we saw an all-time high with Bitcoin, we also saw all-time highs with the Google Trends chart. We're going to be taking a look at other headlines as well, just like this, as you can see here with the hash rate showing all-time highs as well. And then when we look at Bitcoin transactions per day, finally breaking new levels since the start of last year. And so we've got a ton of things to look at. We're going to be taking some questions from our live audience, doing our technical analysis, and also going over the bearish and bullish case for Bitcoin as we hover around that $8,900 level. And then for those of you that want to win this book, The Intelligent Investor, make sure to like this video. We will be choosing one of you guys to win this book. And of course, let's just go ahead and dive right into our technical analysis. I see we've already got live viewers on. Asim, good to have you on live. First and foremost here, I want to talk about Bitcoin's bearish and bullish case. This is a very important thing here for Bitcoin because understanding where price action is headed right now is going to give you a very good indicator of where you want to structure things over the next few weeks. However, understand this, we're going to be talking about this halving that's coming up. As you can see, this green line on the left, this vertical green line was the previous halving, and this right here is the upcoming halving. And we're going to be taking a look at how price action is extremely similar with the halving from June and July of 2016 to what's happening right now in May of 2020. So let's first and foremost draw out some very key levels to look at the bearish and bullish case right now for Bitcoin in the short and medium term. So first and foremost, I want you to realize here for the bullish scenario, we're going to be looking at this 200-day moving average in green, and that's going to be right here around that 8,760 level, 8,760. That 200-day moving average, extremely key level for us to watch right now, especially because we are still over and currently under a golden cross, as you can see with the 50-day moving average crossing above that 200-day moving average. And so that is very bullish for Bitcoin. However, we could certainly see a death cross happen if we still see lower price action below the 200-day moving average, because then that 50-day in red will cross back over and under the 200-day moving average. And that's obviously not what we want to see if we want to look at the bullish case for Bitcoin. I see our live audience here. Coach K says, "What's up, Sniper?" Giddy Mate from Crypto Tiger, good to have you on. So looking at the bullish case, first and foremost, we want to stay above the 200-day moving average of 8,780 precisely. Then that's changing over the next few days. And then we also want to look at the 50-day moving average, because this is where we want to find a breakout above the 50-day moving average to confirm a bullish case for Bitcoin. So if we were to go ahead and make this look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for you guys, what I'll do here is I'll turn this into red, because anything below that would be bearish, and then of course anything above that 50-day moving average, which is hovering right under 9,300, would be bullish. Now, we could certainly see a bull trap of price action going to the 50-day moving average and then seeing, a push back down. However, that worries me, because what that would show us is that we would form a potential head and shoulder pattern here if we were to do that, and that would obviously be extremely bearish. So ideally, we don't want to see it go all the way up to the 50-day moving average and bounce down. However, that is a slight possibility. We want to see volume come in if we're going to be talking about the bullish case for Bitcoin here. And then, of course, the bearish scenario here is going to be the 100-day moving average right here in blue. However, I would draw the line right under this previous support that we found here in January 22nd of 2020, right around that 82.50 level. That would be my bailout point for Bitcoin long positions, being the fact that that not only is below the 100-day moving average, but most importantly, that is much below the 50-week moving average, which is an extremely important level to watch right now, in my opinion. And so I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the bullish and bearish case here in the comments below or in the chat. I see we've got Scotty, Hourglass, Vishal on. We're going to be taking some questions from you guys and giving away another book here, The Intelligent Investor, as we do in every live stream. This is Warren Buffett's favorite book on investing. So make sure to like the video if you guys want to participate in that. And then let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming Bitcoin halving. So you can see here this line in green. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to light blue here. This is where we expect the next halving for Bitcoin. Now, when we look at the last halving for Bitcoin, you can see when that occurred here around July of 2016, we saw very similar price action to what we're seeing right now. I'll go ahead and make this light blue as well for you guys so you have an idea of what the halving represents here with this line. So you can see initially, just like we are right now, we saw a nice rally up. At the time, we went to right around $775 before we saw a big push down, which looked quite bearish, and we saw a slow, gradual consolidation. The halving happened, and of course, we actually saw lower levels than where we were previously before we finally started the uptrend, which eventually became the major breakout that then took us above 20,000 US dollars. And so if we were to look at this chart and assume that, yes, what's happening right now is extremely similar to what happened in June of 2016, well, then if we were to take this measure here of when the actual halving occurs to when we really start seeing bullish momentum, we can see it's about 115 days. And so if we were to look at this and determine, okay, how much time do we really have to gather capital in order to be able to be positioned best with capital in order to have our capital in Bitcoin before we see a major run up beyond 20,000 US dollars, beyond 100,000 US dollars, potentially, of course. And of course, we're going to be talking about a ton of fundamentals and things that correlate with that. But understand this, when looking at this chart, 115 days, that would only give us up to around, if we were to look here, right around September of 2020, in which we will start seeing the uptrend that will then lead into new all-time highs. And of course, September is very close to October, November, and December. And of course, remember when the 2017 momentum really happened, it was around the October, November, and December timeframe. And so I believe heading into 2021, we have some time right now before we are really going to see a major breakout with Bitcoin. And I think that's going to happen here very soon, especially because when we look at more fundamentals here, I want you to see this. This is a Google Trends chart. Very important because this is showing you what the everyday person is searching on Google. And why is that important? Well, I'll tell you exactly why that's important. If you look here at the Bitcoin search term, what could have predicted, quote unquote, the rally in 2017. We'll see here that the Google Trends chart showed here in November of 2017 an increase in interest. And of course, we peaked out when Bitcoin eventually peaked out. And so looking at the Bitcoin halving search term, what's even more interesting, and this is the reason for the title today, the hidden indicator. This is one indicator that no one is talking about. If somebody's talking about that, put it in the chat below. I see we've got Master Benny on Twitter watching. Man, we've got a ton of people on our Twitter watching. I love Twitter. You know, it's funny. We've got a very nice audience. Even Brock Pierce follows us on Twitter, the founder of EOS, a friend of mine that I've sat in private rooms with. We're actually going to talk a little bit about altcoins here coming up as we complete this conversation about Bitcoin halving. I'll take some more questions from you guys. But understand the fact that what we're seeing here right now, Bitcoin halving, prior to the 2017 rally, we saw a very high increase in interest of the search term. And what are you seeing right now? September 1st, 2019, we started to see this increase. And what I'll tell you right now is I've got a ton of hedge fund managers that own cryptocurrency hedge funds. And the one thing they will sit down and tell an investor that they will always make sure to cover is the Bitcoin halving. There's not one crypto hedge fund manager that's not going to sit with a potential accredited investor and not talk about the potential or the upcoming halving and use that as a key metric in order for that accredited investor to be confident in putting funds with that hedge fund manager, into cryptocurrency. So very important key fact, lots of confirmations here. And interestingly enough, as the halving approaches, for those of you that don't know what the halving is, right now as a miner of Bitcoin, the only way you can produce Bitcoin is by mining it, using CPU, GPU power to create or to solve complex mathematical equations that then reward you Bitcoin. And right now the reward for miners are 12.5 Bitcoins, and during a halving that's cut in half. And so what ends up happening is the supply becomes a lot less. The manufactured supply, the producing supply becomes a lot less. And understand, in financial markets, I've been in financial markets for over 10 years. It's all based on supply and demand. As you can see with this chart here, the hash rate seeing a new all-time high today. Why is that important? Well, that means we are seeing more and more mining power coming right now than ever before. And that's important to realize because it's right before the upcoming halving. And then when we look at Bitcoin transactions per day, seeing some new highs that we have not yet seen since the start of last year. So very important to see that, because in 2017, when we peaked, you guys know this, we saw very high amounts of transactions. I actually had a buddy of mine. He was like, hey, Naeem, I don't know how to accept Bitcoin. I've got a client who wants to pay me $40,000 in Bitcoin. This was yesterday or 2 days ago on Friday, February 28th. And he said, Naeem, would you be able to help me accept this Bitcoin so I can, cash this and proceed with my client and do my consulting? And I'm like, well, let me teach you how to open up a Bitcoin wallet. And so I ended up walking him through on how to accept a Bitcoin transaction from Australia, $40,000 transaction, and how to liquidate that into USD using Kraken, transferring it into his bank account, and all with a $100 fee at the end when it was all said and done. And so understand there's use case, and we know that. I mean, if you guys have been, we are one of the first crypto channels on YouTube. I know you've got all these new YouTubers, but of course we were working on our Traders Profit Club program for quite some time. But now that we're back in content, understand we've been around longer than anyone, and we all know the fundamentals here are very solid. And with Bitcoin specifically, things are looking better than ever, and things are just continuing to mature and progress with regulations as well as news. So very important thing to notate right now, transactions hitting all-time highs. Now, a lot of people are asking me about altcoins, and I don't want any of you guys to tune out right now, because understand this. The altcoin market is a very, very important aspect of the cryptocurrency sphere as a whole. And I am very, very fond of some projects, but I'm also very against a lot of projects. And one of those projects is Ripple. For those of you that have heard of Ripple, I'm sure some of you guys have owned Ripple. If you've owned an XRP token, say I in the chat. If you're on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you guys are watching, say I if you guys have owned XRP in the past. Understand this. XRP is probably the worst investment you can make, in my opinion. And what proves it here, you can see selling XRP keeps Ripple profitable, CEO Brad Garlinghouse says. Very, very interesting article. Brad Garlinghouse says here, we would not be profitable or cash flow positive without selling XRP. And this is amidst all of the negativity that he's receiving from the community about why he keeps selling XRP. As you can see here, Ripple unlocks another 1 billion XRP from escrow wallet yesterday, right? What does that mean? Well, understand this. Ripple has failed to explain why it needs all these funds every month, which often total more than 200 million per month. In response, the team has simply asserted that it's the protocol and something that has been in place for some time. Okay, so what's your protocol, Brad Garlinghouse? Your protocol is to liquidate your investors' funds? Like, how does that make sense? It's like if you were to invest in Microsoft and then Bill Gates comes in and says, oh, I'm going to go ahead and liquidate the actual capital from your investment, but I'm going to let you keep the Microsoft stock on your Robinhood app. And by the way, Robinhood crashed today, which made a lot of people lose a lot of money, especially those shorting the traditional markets. If you guys were in our Discord group, you would have known not to short the traditional markets because I posted that gold was selling off. We actually posted a gold short. And of course, if people are selling off gold, where's the liquidity going to go? Into traditional markets and equity markets, because we saw over 12% correction over the last week. So understand this, this makes no sense to me. Why would you say that you need to liquidate, like you need to sell Ripple to be profitable? That's the worst thing in the world, because what you're basically saying is, yeah, you've got all these people buying Ripple and it gives Ripple value, but look what ends up happening. Ripple fails to reclaim critical long-term support. Literally the worst performing coin in the last 2 years. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because the CEO continues to sell the coin when people are people are literally putting money into Ripple, and then the CEO comes in and says, oh, thanks, I'm going to take the money, but I'm going to leave you with this useless coin. Makes no sense and really hurts our image. And that's all I have to say about Ripple. I don't even want to give him the time of day, but understand this. What I want you guys to realize is there are a lot of centralized projects in the sphere, and altcoins. I've said this for the last 2 years, and if you guys have heard me say this, say I see we've got Rafael Blanco, he said I, FlipZ, Rozu, Shazam on YouTube, Zach Dems. Damn, we've got a lot of people on our live stream right now. Good to have you guys. If you guys want to win this book, like the video. If you guys enjoy this content, like the video, and I will ask a question at the end of this live stream for those of you that want to win the Intelligent Investor shipped straight to your house. Amazon 1-day shipping, baby. But understand this. So the centralized projects, we've said this for the last 2 years, most of these altcoins, 98% will not be around 10 years from now. Why is that the case? Well, the case is because of the centralized aspect of it. Bitcoin is not centralized, and that's why you don't see these type of issues with Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin is one of the top performing assets in the last 5 or decade or whatever you want to, whatever time frame you want to look at it. One of the best performing assets of our decade right now, if not the best performing asset of our decade, not the worst performer, because we've got Brad Garlinghouse selling it off, right? So understand Bitcoin is very different from these altcoins, and to stay away from these altcoins. As a matter of fact, this is a very important article I want you guys to read here. Tron, right? So Justin Sun, I'm going to give you guys some backstory. This is important. I know you guys might not want to hear Tron or Steam, but this is important to understand the mindset of a centralized project and why they don't work. So recently, Justin Sun met with the chairman of Steemit, and this is some backstory, and he purchased Steemit. If you guys know what Steemit is, one of the oldest blockchain platforms, and is a blockchain-based social media platform where you earn rewards through the Steem token, right? So long story short, Justin Sun buys Steemit, and headline here says, Steem community is in an uproar as crypto exchanges back reversal of a blockchain governance software. So what ended up happening was Justin Sun bought Steemit, and people were like, wait, why is he like in control of our rewards now and our Steem tokens? Well, what did they do? They ended up winning a 51% vote in forking the Steem coin, which basically meant that what Justin Sun just bought became useless to him, in which now he has no control over. And guess what he did? Steem and Tron have moved to reverse a recent blockchain software that sought to reduce their ability to sway governance decisions, according to a blog post. The effort was seemingly assisted by crypto exchanges Binance, Huobi, Poloniex, and other exchanges, as tokens held by those firms were used by Tron and Steem to overturn the soft fork and maintain control over the Steem network for at least 4 to 6 weeks. The hostile takeover has angered community members, prompting some developers to pull back their Steem-related apps. He basically screwed over the Steem community, and it was supposed to be this decentralized, right? I mean, that's the whole concept of blockchain. But he used his centralized authority, he used his money, and he used his relationships with exchanges to bypass it. And I think that's wrong. And my message to you guys is do not keep tokens on exchanges. Exchanges have too much power. The reason this happened was because Binance was holding so much Steem tokens that they had the majority vote, and they used, if you have Steem token in Binance, they used your vote to do what they wanted. And so it's like almost as if somebody voted for you. Let's say, we've got the primary elections coming, right? Super Tuesday, what is it? Isn't that today? Tomorrow. Super Tuesday is tomorrow, right? Would you be, let me ask you guys a question watching live right now. Would you guys be okay if you had some government authority use your name to vote for who they wanted for the presidential election? Well, that's exactly what happened here. And that's why, in my opinion, you have to be very careful. If you own a large amount of Bitcoin, if you own a large amount of any coin, use a hardware wallet, keep the private keys to yourself, and understand that the exchanges have a lot of control and they typically are not going to use it to your benefit. And on top of that, understand the majority of projects that are centralized, a lot of these altcoins are not going to be around 10 years from now, because you don't sustain a business model by selling tokens and selling $200 million worth every month so you can be on the Ellen show like Mr. Brad Garlinghouse did. So understand this stuff is extremely important. And before we do some more technical analysis on traditional markets, I want to talk about the coronavirus, because it's extremely important that you guys realize that it's not as bad as people say it is. People are freaking out right now. They're saying that things are going crazy, but the thing is they're not looking at actual charts to realize that this was February 13th. Now, I want you guys to tune out right now, because realize this. It's February 13th, this is when everybody started freaking out, right after Valentine's Day, right? Before that, we knew about the coronavirus. Nobody was freaking out. And it was because, look at the numbers. They weren't crazy, but of course China forgot to report a lot of their cases on the 13th of February, and that shot up the number of cases that was reported that day. That freaked everyone out. But what people don't realize is, look how good we're doing right now. Look at all of these recoveries. The green is showing the recovered cases. The red symbolizes the new confirmed cases. You can obviously see a trend here where we're seeing way more recoveries now. We're seeing way less red. Matter of fact, just on the 3rd of, right now we've only had less than 120 cases. So understand things are going really well with the coronavirus. Apple just opened up all of their factories in China, and so don't freak out. Don't listen to the news when they just want to get your watch time. They want to get your reading time, and that's really all they're up for. So understand this. For those of you that are in our premium group, we posted a trade for Microsoft. We posted a trade for Apple. We posted a trade for Walmart yesterday. A lot of those have hit profit targets. And I want you guys to realize that what I'm going to show you right now is going to influence the cryptocurrency and specifically Bitcoin's price in the short term more than anything. And that's the health of our traditional markets. You can see we've got the S&P 500 pulled up. We've got this beautiful reversal candle pattern here. You can see we found support, double bottomed here right at that area below 3,000 at 28.52. And now we're seeing a nice push to the upside. It's something that I actually posted on our Discord. For those of you not in our Discord, the link is in the description below. It's discord.gg/profits. I posted this on Friday. You can see here, I said stocks have seen a major correction over the last week. However, the next few trading sessions look to be more positive, especially if we see gold to break new key levels of support, showing capital that was previously hedged getting ready to re-enter other markets, stocks, and even possibly Bitcoin, right? And this will be verified tomorrow. Long story short, for those of you getting our premium signals in our premium signal group, I ended up sending out a gold short at 1610. That went ahead and hit all three targets at over 250 plus pips profit. That eventually led to the stock signals that we sent out on Sunday, most of them hitting targets: Microsoft, Apple, Walmart, and as you can see, that's also represented here by the S&P 500 chart with this huge buy wick. For those of you that were affected by Robinhood downtime, say something in the chat. That was totally wrong of Robinhood. If you guys don't know, Robinhood, their whole app went down this morning, and today was one of the most volatile, one of the best days in the stock market. Matter of fact, as soon as we had our first huge gap down here, I told you guys, I was like, well, understand, yes, we had our worst day since 2008. Matter of fact, worst week ever in the stock market. But if you look at history, Tony Robbins actually said this once. He said in one of his podcasts, Tony Robbins said, typically, when there's the worst day in the stock market, within 10 days will be the best day in the stock market. And understand this, when you understand long-term investing, the S&P 500 historically over the last 150 plus years has returned over 10% profits on an annual basis, minus inflation of 3%, about 7% return every single year. That 7% return becomes 3% or even 5% just for missing one day in the stock market. And that's the best day of the stock market. So for those of you that did miss the best day, today was a great day. Dow up over 1,200 points. Then it's unfortunate. Once again, just like we talked about with all of the centralized aspects of what's happening with, Tron and Steam, it's the same thing with even Robinhood. You really want to get yourself on a good broker when you're trading, something like E-Trade, something like TD Ameritrade. one that has good volume and good uptime. And so you can see here with the Dow breaking multiple resistance levels. I expect it to continue to break resistance levels. Of course, there will be some resistance here around that 27,000 area. Of course, with traditional markets, as we start to see this go up, we'll also see some strength with Bitcoin here. Shazam on YouTube says, Justin Sun, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all the same. And awesome. Let's see. OTTOL says, feel the burn. Let's see. Bruh XRP says, Naeem got some today. LOL. No, it's just, I need to get back in the groove, guys. You got to understand, I got to get back in the groove. That's why I'm trying to get more consistent with the schedule. I just spent so much time on Traders Profit Club, but we're to a point where we've got very good signals coming out. We've got a strong community, and it's time for me to start producing content for you guys, get back to what I love to do. And of course, it takes time. Yeah, our last video was mediocre in my opinion. My mic was not set up properly and stuff, but you're going to see as time progresses, we are going to be the best source for financial market news, and that's because we want to make sure we bring you guys the most accurate news. I want to wrap this live stream up soon, give away this book to one of you guys watching. If you guys want to be eligible, like the video here. And my question to you guys is, understand this. We are seeing some amazing times in the market right now. We're seeing tons of volatility. Volatility is fun if you know what you're doing. If you're a trader, volatility is fun. If you're an index fund holder, volatility is still fun, because during these drops, that's when you can really get some nice index funds for really cheap. But my question to you guys to win this book here is, do you guys believe more in Bitcoin seeing new highs after the halving, or do you guys believe more in seeing, matter of fact, why don't I ask you guys this, which equity or which asset do you guys believe in the most? Gold, Bitcoin, or equity markets? If you had $100,000 right now and you're only able to put it into one asset class, which is probably dumb because you always want to diversify, but if you only, and you'll learn that when you're reading Intelligent Investor, but I want to ask you this, if you only had one asset class to put $100,000 in, would it be gold, Bitcoin, or equity markets? When I say equity markets, let's just take like the SPY, for example, a total stock market ETF, for example. So, you're basically following the S&P 500. So those are the three options: gold spots, Bitcoin in a hard wallet, or equity markets. Where would you put your money right now if you had that decision today? And for answering that question, one of you guys will win the Intelligent Investor here. I see on Twitter, Mountain Farm says gold. Crypto Brand says, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Malvin says Bitcoin. Straddle says equity. Interesting. Master Benny, Bitcoin 100%. Zach Dem says, believe in gold the most. Gold, equity markets have outperformed gold year over year when you look at the long term. Chris Owens says, bro, I just saw your comment about him getting some. LOL. Let's see. Trust me, I get some all the time. It's not a rare occurrence to do that in my life. Mountain Farm says gold. Oscar D. Campunzano from Twitter says Bitcoin with a hard wallet. I like that you put the hard wallet, especially because on our last video we covered Google Authenticator being breached recently with malware. That is like the number one way to prevent things from getting hacked, and that's already breached. And then of course what we talked about today with the exchanges, you're leaving your coins with them. They have more things that they can do with that than you think. You think. So it's important. Lawrence says equity markets. Rob says Bitcoin hard wallet. Stephen Kennedy says Bitcoin. Interesting. So winner of the book is going to be Oscar de Campanz. I can't even say the last name right. It's Spanish, right? Campanzuna or Campuzano. Send me a message on Discord. If you want to join, it's discord.gg/profits. And then just send me a private message. You'll see me on the members list at the top. And we'll take it from there. Or send me a message on Twitter if you'd like, since you're on Twitter, and you'll win this book. We give away a book every live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. I don't want to take too much of your time today. I wanted to cover some very important news because a lot of things are moving right now. So if you guys want to rewatch this video, feel free to do that, because we went over some really, really meaty things here. And to just wrap up with our Bitcoin analysis here once and for all, understand the bearish case here. If we go below the 200-day moving average of 8,700, 8780, but that's moving. It's constantly moving. So around 8780, let's call that the mark. Anything below 8780, we're starting to get bearish. Anything below 8250, all my long positions are out, because 7500 is the clear choice at that point. Anything above 9,300, which is the 50-day moving average, will be very positive. The other reason we've got this line here at 8,250 is the 50-week moving average. We don't want to go below that. You can see when we went below that in the past, we've seen some very, very bearish price action. So we don't want to get there. And once again, look at what happened before the halving in 2016, before we saw $20,000 Bitcoin. Check this baby out. So we go to the halving here of 2016, very similar price action. We saw a high, we consolidated after a big drop, and then that gave us some time. So don't rush. Understand this. Here's the other thing. Don't rush. If I were you, this is how you play this. $100 a week in Bitcoin. Doesn't matter what price. Same time, same day, every week you purchase $100. It's called dollar cost averaging in, right? You've got time. We've got time. Trust me. If you look at what happened, we had all this time before we saw the rally. Same thing happening right now. We've got all this time, and realize this, at the end of the day, we're still so far away from this halving compared to what I just showed you. So we've got all this time to consolidate, and then even after that, we've got time to consolidate, and all of the metrics are falling in place. You can see Bitcoin halving before we saw the rally. The rally happened right around here. This is where the rally happened, right here. This is where the rally happened. This is when we saw the spike in interest of what the Bitcoin halving was. Whoever was searching Bitcoin halving here probably became a multi-millionaire because they realized the fact that, okay, something's going on, something's about to happen. Is because understand what this chart is representing here. This chart is basically representing that whoever was, searching up Bitcoin halving in 2016, they were most likely buying Bitcoin, and they were the ones that benefited the most of on that $20,000 rally. And so you can see very similar pattern here. This is very, very impressive to me. The fact that we're seeing this much interest in Bitcoin halving right now on Google Trends, because when you look at just Bitcoin term in general, you can see we're seeing none of that here right now, right? So you can obviously see how that metric actually plays a huge part. And so with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. And I'll see you guys on Discord. We got more signals to post. It's going to be a new trading session tomorrow, new day, new week. And if you guys enjoyed this content, like the video, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.